Welcome to the Bridge Show, live from our Oslo HQ. This is the absolute first Bridge Show just for you. And today we have an exciting program from our fantastic partner Per. We have Per-Henning coming to tell us about some great news. We will talk about the collaboration and how this has impacted the 16 years we have been collaborating. So welcome to Per TV and welcome to the Bridge Show. Is that an opening for you? So, fantastic to see you, Per-Henning.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It is wonderful that we start off this series with one of our... You've been partner longer than probably anybody else.
I believe so. You have been with us since our infancy, and I believe the same with you guys.
That's very true. We started the company in 2004, and that was the same year you started.
Correct.
Well, we definitely have some history, and that's 16 years in the making.
Yeah, and we've been working together since at least our first generation products,
yes,
and all the way to the latest generation we're into now.
That's very true, and they come to talk about the generation of products, because basically we started with the XC series, I believe.
Correct.
And basically that was XC2000. Was this the first?
I think chassis? XC2000 was the first chassis, and all the way up to XC5000, which is the latest XC platform we have in sale now.
Because we also designed a long time ago cards that actually fit into your chassis.
Correct.
So that you can then, the good dream there was to basically have only one chassis, the Per-TV chassis, and then to have the monitoring and measurement inside that chassis to reduce the form factor.
Yeah, and also the management and everything is also included from the GUI in our chassis.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We also then did it for the one rack unit chassis, if I can't
remember. The 5100.
Yeah. No, that has been a success story. A lot of our partners, you know, we have a lot of the same partners.
Yeah, I think we have almost worldwide, we share a lot of the same partners.
Yes, we do.
And I think we've seen also quite a lot of shared customers.
That's absolutely true. And again, that was one of the drivers for actually doing this integration in the first place. And we have them, well, pretty much all over the world, actually. Yeah. I like it. But that was, you know, that's kind of like the transport stream encapsulation-based distribution network. It was, I remember a lot of projects was dealing with especially cable TV. And I know that for a fact you do have a lot of cable TV customers.
I think, you know, it's really been a mainstay of our business since 2004. And even though cord cutting and everything is sort of the trend now, you still see a lot of cable about all over the world, and we're still actually quite active in that market.
It's very true. It's like one of those technologies that it will never die, probably.
Probably never die.
So it's very true. We have a lot of mutual customers there, but basically today we're not that focused on. We're not going to talk a lot about the transport stream. Basically, we're going to go to the next generation stuff, and then of course you have the platform called X.
Yes, our X platform, been around for a few years now, but we're constantly adding new modules. You know, our modular approach always allows us to add our own modules, like we did with yours as well. And we're really focusing on, you know, it's a diverging market, because on one side we have uncompressed, 2110. Yeah. On the other side, you're talking more and more OTT, where you go to you're much more compressed than you're on cable. So it's really going both towards uncompressed and going towards highly compressed at the same time.
But it's nice that you mentioned that, because I believe that's one of the absolute mega trends, that you have these condensation of technologies. We are removing SDI as interconnect. We're moving into IP domain there. And when it comes to distribution, we're moving to IP, but also by internet-based distribution like OTT. And I believe that was why I was so fascinated by the X platform, because it's kind of it's used for both of these purposes. First of all, the encoding, of course.
Yes, so the encoding is used both for uncompressed and lightly compressed, and contribution and distribution, and studio links, video networking. But we're also seeing, big demand for adaptive bitrate transcoding, multiple bitrates, both in AVC and HEVC for live content. And in this unit, you can do both. And you can do both in the same chassis even. So it's really adaptable to, in studio placement, where you want to do both the contribution or the mezzanine links and the OTT at the same time to avoid latency.
That's very flexible. And as you say, that is a pretty important goal because, again, you want to actually reduce latency as much as possible.
I think, especially within high-value content that we see, sports and events, or even gaming competition type programs, there's a lot of focus on latency, and people want to observe the content at least no slower than the neighbor, especially when it comes to football. You hate hearing the neighbor share for the goal before you can see it.
That is very true.
So no, it's been a really push the last couple of years to remove latency, and one is of course all the low latency standards, but still encoding adds latency no matter what. So to reduce the number of hops between the production and the client, I think is a good value proposition.
So that means that basically then, if you put it to the extreme, you can say that if you put an X chassis inside the outside broadcast vehicle, you could then pretty much do the encoding right on stage and actually output from the outside broadcast vehicle straight to the origin server.
Yes, and I think we're seeing a trend where operators are trying to either take a mezzanine feed and do typically software transcoding in their data centers for OTT distribution. And typically that's quite software centric since they have the entire software operation going there anyway. But for the premium content, they're looking to move the encoding as close to the content as possible to reduce the number of links and the number of jumps and encodes, but also actually to reduce costs, because of course the mezzanine encode will be quite costly, while ABR ladder will typically be half, and with low latency even less than half the bandwidth, reducing the cost of getting the content from production out to the origin.
This is, this is like, it's splendid to listen to these things, because this is also exactly why we do manufacture a lot of OTT monitoring products, because we can see that when actually monitoring then on the ingress side after the first encoding, and then of course the transcoding issues, and then monitoring the origin server itself, basically. I totally agree with you that we need less hops, because of course every hop costs something. But do you think that encoding, let's say, HLS has pretty much dominated the planet. It's, I would say, 80% of paid content is probably HLS or more. Mm. But HLS usually now came up with something called HLS low latency.
Yes. We've been following that development closely, and I have to admit that we haven't jumped the bandwagon yet. And the reason for that is it's a very Apple-specific scenario.
That is true.
And but it'll be interesting to see how CDNs and everything cope. Because one thing is getting the HLS in, or getting the low latency into the origin. Yeah. The other thing, making efficient bandwidth out. So at our current product line, we are now focusing on the chunk transfer encoding into our origin, and creating a joint manifest for HLS and Dash. And we will have low latency.
CMAF.
Yes. Yeah. And we will have chunked CMAF with Dash manifests ready just around the corner.
Cool.
And then I think we're just holding a little bit more on the low latency HLS, to be honest, because we want to see how it plays out and how it's standardized, because there's still some motion in that development.
That is true. Well, thank you for promising CMAF. That's very good. To brag a little, we had CMAF in our probes for quite some time now. So absolutely, Per-Henning.
I think actually we've tested our output streams as well with our software upstairs.
That is true, yes. No, that's fun. And that's the cool thing with partnerships. That we can always lean on each other when it comes to the ability to fast track stuff. And that's why it's very interesting to talk to you about your priorities and stuff. We have also, we're talking about partnerships. We have our musical genius, Axel, which actually have some thoughts about musical partnerships.
partenaires. C'est comme l'amour. Partnership, aïe, 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 aïe. It is when l'amour goes away. It becomes a bit difficult, no? Like two hands, la main gauche, la main droite, and many ideas. It's very difficult. Sometimes one has to lead, no? This one or this one. It's like this. Someone has to lead. On very few occasions, they work together. Very seldom. But like now, maybe. Because mainly I get paid with money.
Thank you, Axel. It's well worth reminding ourselves to the importance of partnerships, and Axel is a great reminder, basically. Are you fond of music, Per-Henning?
I'm very fond of music.
Oh, that's excellent. Classical music?
I have to admit it has been more EDM and synth
Well,
from my programming days as a young boy programming synthesizers, you know.
Well, programming synthesizers and programming the high-end code needed for, you know, these amazing platforms is kind of the same, isn't it?
At least it shares the same interest, I would say, yes.
That's very good, because I believe very strongly in that same enthusiasm can be made useful to providing, you know, the upper class code, if you like.
Yes, and I think also the enthusiasm allows for, you know, sharing amongst partnerships.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of having my engineering team for the software transcoder up here and seeing your guys demo how the end-to-end integration works with your product, and they really enjoyed it. You know, engineers talking to engineers different company, learning from each other. It's great.
Yeah, but that's a given, and I know for a fact that only a couple of weeks ago we were out and talking about NMOS to your team.
Yes.
So yes, that's we're just a stone throw away. So that's easy.
Yes, it's should have been 20 minutes by traffic, but it was unfortunately 40 minutes today. But we were here on time.
That's very, very good. Yes, because we did a lot of cooperation before NAB time on the ISM, the Integrated Services Monitoring, which basically then showcased that it's very nice to have a pre-qualified, pre-integrated solutions. And that has been very successful. A lot of the partners have said, you know, nice things about that, and we did some nice sales about it also. Yes,
I think it's been also, from our side of view, to see a partner like yourself being able to show the monitoring all the way from 2110, all the way into both the traditional networks and the HLS and the Dash and CMF output has been great, you know, because it can show really the end-to-end of our products, while also showing that you can deliver the whole suite around, showing how that works from content creation all the way out to distribution.
Absolutely. To talk about some you know, not future specifically, but of course, it's only 3 weeks until IBC, you know, is here.
Yes.
And even IBC is not, we're not going to travel, we're going to, you know, do an IBC anyway, because it's the typical time of year where we launch products, right?
Yeah.
And can you talk about what you're going to launch, or is that
yes,
still...
no, we can. We are really the upcoming, well, we have already launched our 40 gig inputs.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So how many 40 gig inputs can you have on the X platform?
Well, there's 12 cards, so you'll probably have 24 inputs then.
That's pretty
It's a massive capacity. You know, the unit is designed to handle 2,000 plus services per card.
Yeah.
So the capacity is, I would say, unlimited, you know.
And that is also including processing, because I know one thing that you've been very vocal about is the firewalling capability, you know, the security aspects.
Yes.
Which I never hear anybody else talk about that much.
No, you know, for us it's been really important to have both the firewalling aspects on both the management but each module, yeah, and also the multiplexing feature set on each module. So you're not limited to picking security versus multiplex versus interface. You know, no, when you buy a module, you get all three.
That's pretty cool, because I believe also strongly that security is going to be a huge thing going forward, especially as we see more and more contribution feeds utilizing the public internet, basically.
Yes. And of course, offering both SRT and 60, these boxes end up on the public internet.
Yes.
So you really need to focus on security from day one.
Yeah.
And we've done that, and it's an integral part of the product and an integral part of the design and a security-first perspective on everything we do.
Cool, I love it. So obviously bandwidth is going up, that's for sure. And we talked just a little about the use of the X platform for contribution needs. And that means, of course, that you do J2K, of course, and of course other kind of mezzanine level compression schemes.
Yeah, so we do JPEG XS is being released now.
Cool.
TICO, JPEG 2K. But also, low latency HEVC and low latency AVC.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the bandwidth capacity available to our clients to use, and also, of course, the latency requirements.
Do you see, is people still using any kind of 2022-6 type of SDI configurations for these purposes?
Yes, we do see both 2022-6. But I guess more moving forward, it's more 2110.
Yeah.
But there's a latency between people asking and being delivered. So 2022-6 is still, pretty alive and kicking.
Absolutely. No, that's very true. It's SDI is again another standard that would probably never die because it's been with us forever.
Yes.
But fascinating. So. Come to all the development, because we know from our development of the 440 and all the precision things we needed to do there, comparing, or especially mentioning PTP. Basically, have you also had a lot of fun with PTP?
Well, as much fun as you can have with clock synchronization, I guess. No, we've had, but we've implemented all the requirements, and it's been really useful, especially for the video core functionality in remote PHY, to have this clock synchronization functionality, together with the L2TP encapsulation for the distribution, and all that is present in the platform today.
That is a very interesting you should say that, because again, when you increase the accuracy to that kind of level, it's very useful for all different kinds of purposes.
Yeah, I think you see, and that's a fun thing about being an engineering company, like both our companies are. You develop these things, and suddenly you see the customers imagining use cases you didn't see yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we are a very customer-driven company. I believe you are the same. And you get the feedback, and you're able to build on your products and develop that way to make very forward-leaning and forward-thinking products.
No, but I completely agree, absolutely, because that's also some of the fun with engineering. You can do stuff, and we both have. We all manufacture our own hardware and software,
yes.
So we can do pretty much whatever we like.
Sometimes I feel that we like more than and it takes time, but it's been.
That's very as long as the customer purchases some of it.
Yes. Yeah. No, but I think we're both. They say the more you practice, the more lucky you get, and I think we're both lucky in that sense that we are both technically capable and have a good dialogue with our customers, putting at the forefront of our business, both of us.
I think that we'll stop it there, and thank you again for visiting us here in the studio.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
I hope to have you back soon, basically, and in 3 weeks we, of course, are having a huge launch, because that's the launch week here in Bridge. And we will then be focusing a lot on the new and exciting stuff that we just touched today, Per-Henning.
Looking forward to it.
Basically, we'll say good night to everybody, and it's over and out from the HQ studio in Oslo.